DevilNeverCry.
Final Fantasy XVI is finally receiving an arcade mode specific patch, and so let's talk about everything that we know so far. Final Fantasy XVI's arcade mode, whilst heavily praised for its inclusion and most of its execution, has become a bit of a point of contention amongst some hardcore action game fans out there, specifically in the way that it handles its ranking system when on some of the harder difficulties such as Ultimaniac mode. It's a topic that not only I myself have covered, but many other high-profile content creators out there who have given this mode a go on its hardest difficulty. To boil down the ranking system discourse to its very ethos, it largely revolves around the fact that when played on Ultimaniac, to achieve those top tier ranks like an S rank, you effectively have to artificially extend fights to a ridiculous level, and you also have to spam or make use repetitively of basically a small set of moves to farm arcade points to net you that S rank, which runs counter to the entirety of the game's general fight and combat design, and unfortunately just isn't all that fun in the grand scheme of things. To further clarify on what I meant by saying that it runs counter to the game's combat design, I simply meant the fact that they have taken so much from the DevilNeverCry series, and that's not a slight at Final Fantasy XVI. I myself and many others out there think it's great that for a game that is solely focused on its action, that they have taken some of the cool things from that series, which is why of course the game's combat has received a large amount of praise. But one thing they didn't opt to take from the DevilNeverCry series was its ranking system. A ranking system, might I add, that works quite well because it doesn't just take into account the combat or style points that you've accumulated throughout a level, but it also takes into account the time taken to do so, the amount of damage that you've taken as a player, and the amount of items that you've used, essentially effectively allowing you to make use of a multitude of different playstyles to achieve that top tier S rank, as opposed to solely focusing on farming points. And so with some context provided to the arcade mode and some potential reasons as to why they may change things, we finally come to the update itself. Taking a look at the Japanese version of Final Fantasy XVI's website, specifically the news section, we come to learn that there will be an update dropping on the 3rd of September on a Sunday that will effectively adjust the evaluation method for battle performance in the arcade mode. In addition to this, a new leaderboard will be established in conjunction with this arcade mode adjustment. They then go on to add that after you've updated your game, your arcade mode score or your battle performance will then be put onto this new leaderboard, and you won't be able to submit anything to the old leaderboard or the current one that we have access to. This all does seem a little bit vague, but they have gone on to mention that they will be providing further details when the patch itself drops. This update announcement certainly has flown under the radar. I haven't seen them post anywhere on their social media pages, but it's safe to say that the fact that they're actually providing you with a new leaderboard, alongside the changes they're making to the evaluation of your overall arcade mode performance, leads me to believe that the evaluation method will definitely be altered significantly compared to what it is now. As to how exactly it's going to be changing, I'm unsure. I honestly do hope that, as mentioned, they take into account other factors like time taken, damage taken, and the use of your items, because it quite honestly will make the arcade mode, in my opinion, that much more fun. I am somewhat surprised at the fact, however, that they are making an arcade mode specific patch, and might mean that they are listening more closely to feedback than at least I initially thought. I assume that the majority of people who play Final Fantasy XVI largely focus on the game's story itself, and that arcade mode is simply left to a minority or niche of more hardcore action game fans. And so to think that they're putting a patch out there solely for this mode definitely has me somewhat surprised. So that leaves me cautiously optimistic. I'll be putting out an update video when the update itself drops, where we can talk about what exactly they've changed and whether or not I agree with the decisions they've made. Let me know down in the comments below what you think they'll be changing and whether or not you think arcade mode even needs to be altered at all. With all that said and done, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.